It's been 6 months since I bought the Pixel Buds Pro, and since their release, I found I've actually liked them more and more. The first thing I really like about them is a feature that was actually missing at launch, which is EQ settings. Google did a great job with the layout of the EQ settings. It gives you the full EQ, but in a way that explains what adjustments you make will actually do, and they have multiple sliders for both bass and treble. Also, I find their suggestions for different sound profiles at the top to actually be quite helpful. However, a word of warning, there's a feature called Volume EQ in the sound settings that I personally have found to make the bass sound too muddy and not tight. The next thing I like about these buds is their overall sound. I think they sound pretty good. They've got a pretty clear sound with nice punchy bass. Now, if you compare the Pixel Buds Pro to something like the Sony XM4s or Bose, they sound close, but the Sony XM4s, which we've reviewed in particular, sound noticeably better. They have a wider sound stage than the Pixel Buds Pro, and I'd say a bit of a warmer sound to them as well. Now, one category where the Pixel Buds Pro clearly beats the more expensive set of earbuds is with comfort. They're noticeably more comfortable than a lot of earbuds that have a more in-ear design. This is because the silicone tips of the Pixel Buds sit just outside of the ear canal to create a light seal, but they don't really go in as far as the XM4s. This does mean, however, for me, their noise cancellation, while still pretty excellent, is not best in class. But considering they retail for $100 less than earbuds I'd consider to have best in class noise cancellation, I think the Pixel Buds Pro are still pretty good. The noise cancellation still blocks out most things you don't want to hear. These buds, like a lot of the other buds they're competing against, also do not give you that plugged ear feeling when you wear them. And because of their noise cancellation, I found they sound quite a bit better than the less expensive buds from Google, the Pixel Buds Series A. Another area where the Pixel Buds Pro really stand out is battery life. They're rated for 11 hours of battery life, which is a slightly misleading figure since that's without noise cancellation turned on. The buds only get 7 hours of battery life with noise cancellation, which is still very respectable. I'm not typically used to saying this phrase, but Google is absolutely crushing most of the competition when it comes to this spec. When you add in the Pixel Buds Pro case, you get a total of 20 hours of listening time with active noise cancellation on. So how exactly did Google manage to beat most of their competition with a battery life spec? Well, you have to make the earbuds weigh more for the larger battery, and you have to be able to fit that battery into earbuds in a way that's comfortable. Google was able to do both of these things while not making these buds noticeably more uncomfortable to wear. The Pixel Buds Pro, unlike the Pixel Buds A series, do not feature a stabilizer arc in their design, which I think actually helps them potentially be more comfortable, but they might not fit some people's ears as well. Another thing I love about these buds are the music controls used for them. Unlike most competing buds, not only can you control the music by playing and pausing it with taps or cycling through noise cancellation and transparency mode, but Google also brought back volume controls. With the volume controls on the Pixel Buds Pro, I do occasionally misfire, and instead of swiping forward for volume up and volume back, I'll accidentally play or pause music. Most of the time, the volume swipes do work for me, and honestly, I'd rather just take the misfires than not having the ability to swipe volume up and down on these buds. Some other things I've liked about these buds over the past 6 months are their multi-point audio controls. Google Assistant works well on the buds themselves, though I personally wish the response time of the Assistant was just a bit faster. One issue I ran into when using Nest speakers and displays, sometimes the Google Assistant on the Nest speakers, they'll still hear the requests that I meant for the buds, and they'll do the same thing like start playing music, which can be a bit annoying. I also like that these buds come with a Find My Device feature and allow you to ring a bud to help locate it. The range of these buds is also very good, as well as their connection stability, which I know some people had issues with previous generations of the Pixel Buds. With the Pixel Buds Pro, I've had no issues with their connection. The mic quality of these buds for phone and work calls I thought was also surprisingly good. Here's an example of how they sound compared to some other buds I own. These are the Pixel Buds Pro. These are the Pixel Buds A series. And now we have the Sony Buds S. And these are the mics from the Sony WF-1000XM4s. And these are the mics for the Bose Quiet Comfort II.
And once again, here's the Pixel Buds Pro and how their mics sound.
Another thing I love about these buds is their case. It feels great in your hands with this matte white finish. It's smooth like a river stone, and it has a satisfying open and close mechanism that, yes, is very fun to fidget with. It also has USB-C for charging as you'd expect, but unlike the A series, these buds come in a water-resistant case that also brings back a favorite feature, wireless charging. Pixel Buds Pro themselves are also water and sweat resistant. Last few things I like about these buds. First, their setup process was easy and straightforward, and Google did listen to people's feedback when it came to how confusing firmware updates were for previous versions of the Pixel Buds. Alright, now let's talk about a few things I don't like about the Pixel Buds Pro, and about the only downside I've run into with them over the past 6 months is their transparency mode, which you can enable by just pressing and holding the bud. And when you listen to your voice like I'm doing now with transparency, it sounds like I'm a bit underwater. It definitely sounds like I'm still wearing buds, and it's not nearly the best transparency mode I've heard, which is really weird considering that I thought the mics on the Pixel Buds Pro were actually pretty decent. Another not really downside, but I'd say slight disappointment with these buds is the spatial audio feature Google announced along with the buds has not rolled out yet, and we're now 6 months into the life of these buds. All in all, I think if Google could just improve the sound quality on these buds to be able to match what Sony is able to do with their XM4s, these buds would pretty much be near perfect. The only people I don't think these buds are for is iPhone users. While these buds will work with any device that supports at least Bluetooth 4.0 or later, you have to set them up using an Android device. Google does not make their Pixel Buds app available on iOS like competing buds. Because of that, it really only makes sense to pick up these buds if you're primarily an Android user. The Pixel Buds Pro retail for $199 US. They come in several different colors, and I've left purchase links in the description so you can check out their current price because you can often find them on sale. If you're looking for what to watch next, check out some of the other reviews I've done on earbuds, headphones, and smart speakers, and you can get to all of those reviews by clicking on the playlist to the right. Hit that thumbs up button if you like this video and subscribe to the channel for more reviews like this one. For 6 months later, I'm Josh Tedder. Thanks for watching.